Venus is the coolest TMNT character.
You want to read through IDW issues 125 to 137 with Armageddon Game all in between. The story goes from punk frogs to creepy doctor to best turtle ever. Starts off with Casey Jones meeting the punk frogs in an alley, and this meeting does not go very well. They're convinced one of the turtles has taken punk frog Bonnie, so after dealing with Casey, they waltz into the turtles' training dojo. Based on the shell, Clyde is convinced it was Donnie who took Bonnie. The turtles disagree and a fight breaks out. Punk frogs become pyro frogs and burn the whole place down. We know Casey loves entering burning buildings, but he arrives too late to really help. It all burns down. The turtles hunt down the frogs in order to get their revenge. Another fight breaks out. In the midst of this fight, Donnie and Alopex fall through the roof. They suddenly find themselves in a good old-fashioned horror hallway. Things only get worse as they run into Frankenstein mutants like Ground Chuck. Then they meet Creep MD Dr. Jasper Barlow. He's a surgeon to be exact, but also a scientific researcher. This Lita cover is so cool. The doctor sweet-talks Donnie with sweet, sweet science. Casey asks for some help, and we learn the doctor practices mutants-only medicine. His patients are doing great. No dastardly ulterior motives at all. Donnie loves science so much he meets with the doctor again. He's still traumatized by the whole sledgehammer to the shell death thing, and is kinda hoping the doctor can help him out. Turns out the doctor picked up some dragon scales from the whole giant dead dragon corpse thing. Dr. Creeper learns dragon scales are pretty cool. They can reanimate dead tissue. Like good old dirtbag here. He tells Donnie how he can use dragon scales to make a new shell that will merge with his body. Meanwhile, Alopex experiences the joys of the American healthcare system. The doctor then shows Donnie his prized creation, Venus. Alopex is really shocked at the state of American healthcare. Donnie's still not seeing the red flags. The doctor explains this poor creature died on the operating table and he brought her back to life with a dragon scale. After so much trauma, she suffers from acute delirium. Venus used to be punk frog Bonnie, and Donnie finally gets it. At this point, she begins telepathically communicating with Donatello. Donnie demands he set her free, but the doctor's not done with his experiments. He gives Donnie a one-way ticket to Sleepy Town. Donnie wakes up next to Alopex and Sheena. Great news, they've all won free surgery. Venus reaches out to Donnie again and is trying to help him out. She knows little of Dr. Barlow's plan, trying to turn her into a doppelganger. He was paid to do it, but the project failed. But he still believes in medicine, and he's going to heal Donnie's trauma with more trauma. By now, Venus is kind of a mystic badass, and she kicks Donnie right into the astral plane. He gets to reunite in human form with his dead dad Splinter. Turns out the dragon scales give more than just healing. Meanwhile, we get the origin story of the punk frog. They were just hanging out in the city having a good old time, and Hop's mutagen bomb went off, and they all got to experience horrific mutation fun. Mutating is effed up, but they ended up as cool frogs. Anyway, the doctor's real sorry for removing all of Venus's limbs. Plans to Frankenstein her way back to a human. The shell-like carapace is just there to help her heal. We learn that he found what was most likely Donnie's leftover shell and decided to do cool, fun things with it. Our friend's gotta find a way to get out. He's built Donnie a new shell. When he adds in the dragon scale, it'll be fully organic. Astral Donnie and Venus fly through the city having a good old time. They run into Shredder, who's made his way out of hell and is a changed man. At the moment, he's just the person to help him. He makes his way to the lab and frees everybody. Alopex finally gets to practice her own medicine. Our friends are finally freed and they're gonna go get Venus. Wait a minute, they still gotta deal with Ground Chuck and Dirtbag. Don't worry, Venus shocks the hell out of him. And just in time, a Triceraton crashes into the lab. Around this time, Mikey befriends Genghis, and turns out you can't keep a good dirtbag down. Not knowing what happened, they pull themselves out of the rubble, and Venus busts out the old laser beam on Dirtbag, and here's Clyde to chop up Ground Chuck. Donnie and Venus both try to convince Venus to go with them. Clyde was her former boyfriend. Venus needs some time alone. Her arm pops off, and Clyde takes it because he's a creep. I mean, really, who takes an arm? Venus uses her powers to make a cool ponytail. Venus eventually runs into Bludgeon. He's a cool dude. He's got cool pants. He could sense her mystical aura all across the city. The two bond immediately as he decides to help her out. Cool pants. Clyde's still lugging that arm around and brings it back to the punk frog. I guess they needed her limb for closure. Oh, and don't worry, the doctor survived and he has some of Donnie's blood. Now we skip ahead where the turtles are getting mystical training from Oroku Saki, while with meditation, Venus has been healing her body. So much so, she even grows a new arm. Clyde can keep the old one. Venus and Donnie continue their telepathic relationship. Things are pretty bad in Mutant Town and Donnie asks for help, but she can't give it. Donnie's on his own. We skip ahead again and Donnie's messing around with his mystic time powers. This cover, the Alliance issue number 4, is freaking rad. Donnie's shenanigans are pulling at Venus, and he kinda kicks them all into the future, and we see what badasses they become with their awesome mystic powers. Future Venus is whole and complete, a turtle. It's not all great because Armageddon is coming to kill everyone, and their future selves are like, nah, you can't help, go back. She does touch her future self and unlock all memories, past, present, future, and she learns her shell was Donnie's busted shell that was tossed in the trash, and that's why they have such a good connection. Armageddon's a giant problem, but let's deal with that later. Back in the present, Donnie found her and Bludgeon a cool place to live, and now she's fully healed up.
And there we have it. She's gone from punk frog to turtle, and she might not be a ninja, but she is the coolest one.